All right, deal finders, we are back again with another episode of our podcast, and this one is really exciting because I got a friend Adam here from Colombia. Well, at least in Colombia. I don't know actually if he's from here. We'll talk about that. But doing deals started with his W-2, a lot like I did back in the hotel space. We just had a nice conversation about some operations and living life in the hotel world, but we're both here in real estate now. So we're going to dive in and see where he started and where he is today. So you guys buckle up. If you're listening to this, you can watch us on YouTube. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share all those beautiful things. So Adam Williams, let's get started. Can you just tell people where you are from and how did you get into real estate?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first, thanks for having me be a guest here today, Andrew. I watch a lot of your videos and follow your social media, so it's a great honor to sit here and talk face to face with you. So I live in Lexington. We have been in the Columbia area for a little over 7 years now. Came up here from Florida with the family, and originally from Iowa. And then the hotel business took me, kind of all over the United States to Orlando. And then again, the family and I moved up here about 7 years ago and couldn't have imagined a better choice of a place to move to.
Oh, look at that. I love it. I talk so highly about South Carolina and Columbia in particular, and people just don't get it, man. This is why we're the number one spot for people to move to, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We love it. I mean, we bought a place over in North Myrtle Beach, so we have our ocean skiing up in North Carolina. I mean, you may not be skiing for some people, but it's skiing for us. So it's a fantastic area. We really need to try to keep people away from South Carolina. If they find out how great it is here, we're gonna start to lose some of that what we have.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that. And we can talk about the hospitality business and how much we loved people coming and visiting and I still kind of feel like you just said, like I want people to come and I love the fact that our real estate market is growing because people are coming. But then again, I really do like it being a little bit of our home. So if y'all are listening to this, don't pack up and move just yet. Check out Florida first,
That's right.
and then you come here. So, all right. So, Adam, again, hospitality world, which is great. You moved around a little bit. The reason that I went full time into real estate is because really the next step up for me in hospitality was moving around or not, or traveling, right? Being ahead of a couple of hotels or whatever that would look like. And for our family, we decided that's not what we wanted. I wanted to be able to be home every week, not on the road 3 days a week. So that's what kind of got Michelle and I looking for that exit, which became real estate through rental properties and flips. How did you get into real estate? How did this become a thing for you?
Well, I will tell you, if you don't have the bug to begin with, you will get the real estate bug, as you start to dive in. And I had that W-2 job and hospitality, and managing private clubs is how I went from kind of hotels to private clubs, whether that was the city club, like the Capital City Club downtown, which brought me here, or country clubs, private clubs. So a little bit different than hotels, but very similar. And that W-2 job, I only knew that you could really do life through a W-2 job. Having the two income family, hospitality, working day and night, all hours, all days of the week, until my wife and I said one day, we're going to get a rental property. I want to get a rental property. And, we were able to do it without knowing a lot about it. And we did our first rental property. And from there, it just became case closed, end of story. And I loved every minute of it and everything about it.
Yeah, you're right. Once that bug hits, it becomes harder to say no to the bug than it is to just follow along.
That's right.
Yeah. So what was that? What did that first rental property look like? Was that how did you find it?
So that was, I want to say 2020. So
Okay.
right as I think we were looking at it right before COVID hit. So end of 19, I think is when we decided
Okay.
to do this. And 2020, um, it was also during a period of time where interest rates hadn't fallen, but there was still a lot of demand in the market. So we beat out, you know, probably 6 or 7 other offers, but
Wow.
only by $1,000. I remember hearing from my agent at the time, like, and I think my wife still thinks I paid $1,000 less than what we paid. So I mean, but to think about it, like we beat it by $1,000. But long story short, bank loan. I didn't know any better. We did 20% down and did your conventional rental loan because at that time I didn't understand the other ways to acquire. And so that was great. We got in, we did a little bit of a renovation, we got it rented, and we had a cash flowing property with that bank loan. But I didn't realize that I didn't need to leave money in that deal. From there is when we started acquiring differently, and using the good old fashioned and the most cherished method of acquiring real estate, the BRRRR method.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, very similar to kind of how we got started. Was we didn't know what we were doing. I actually got my first property right out of college. So this was 2007, zero clue. Thankfully the loan officer was like, no, you don't need to put money down. The city has this program. The county has this program. You qualify for both. We're going to get you in. I was like, great. And this is 2007, of course, where anybody could qualify. But Michelle and I had a few more properties, but the BRRRR, we didn't even know that thing. We didn't know that process existed. And if y'all are listening to this, you don't know what we're talking about. You can Google it, look on our webpage, the BRRRR, which is buy it, um, renovate it, rent it out, and then refinance. Being the key piece of that is the refinance, right? So you get your money back, and so you could do it again. How important was that for you guys getting started?
It is what propelled us once I realized the power in that. And then I looked at acquiring properties differently, where I'm like, okay, I'm not going to get a bank loan. And now I need to try to find some off market deals. But once I realized that, once I did my first refinance, that period of time, I was really scared up to there. I'm like, okay, we bought this house. I went and borrowed money from my parents at that time, because I wasn't going to go to a bank loan. And I'm like, I have this idea. And my dad's like,
Oh no.
yeah, how much are we talking? I'm like, we'll sign a mortgage. It's going to be legit, Dad, just the same as if you were a bank. And it was, we'll put it this way. We joked about, my dad would always say, I loaned Adam millions and millions of dollars but he did, but it was off of the same $100,000 that we started out with. And so to answer your question, once we realized the power in the BRRRR method and buying that property, buying it for the right price, doing a good renovation, getting high rent, after we did that first refinance, and I realized how easy it is. I mean, it takes work and it takes effort and it takes knowledge, but in essence, it's easy. It's not as difficult as people can make it seem. And once I realized the power in that, it just we kept doing more and more and more.
Yeah. So I got to go back and remind people, because this is the Deal Finders podcast, and I'm a big proponent in just looking out your back door. Where in your own community are there deals? And 2020, and famously incredible, crazy year, 2019, if you can remember back to that, there was talk of this bubble's too high, real estate's too busy, it's about to bust, don't buy now, wait. And then 2020, of course, it goes again.
Yeah,
But you still found your first rental property on the MLS
that's right.
right in front of your face. And other people saw it. You had to beat some people, but it was there. It was available. And just point out to you guys today, today's even better than it was back then. We're looking every day. We just did a call with some of our partners and students where we were looking on the MLS, and we literally picked out 4 or 5 properties that are deals as listed.
Yep.
And I told them, I was like, don't go offer asking. It's been on the market 60 days. Go in low, go in low. So they're still there, y'all. Be a deal finder. Open your eyes, look and see what's out there. So, how did you figure out the BRRRR process? Was there a book, a podcast, an epiphany?
Yeah, I think it was following social media pages. You weren't. I don't think Deal Finders, or it may have been around at that time, but I don't think it was. And I joined Facebook pages, tried to find like-minded or similar situation people. And so I saw conversations about this. And so so the first house was on market. The second house, I think, was on like Facebook Marketplace, something like that. And I'll tell you a funny story. The second house we bought, so this one was our biggest. At that time, it was a bigger renovation than the first one.
Okay.
And there was a house 2 doors down that I never saw anybody in the house. The house had pine straw covered on the roof. It looked like 5 years worth of pine straw.
Yeah.
The garbage cans never moved. And for years, I said, God, that is such a great little house right there. 2 houses away from this other one. And I said, one day I got to figure this out. Well, fast forward later, 4 years later, I got that house by doing the research, doing what you talk about, driving by. And I finally said, enough. I'm going to go research. I'm going to go research. I'm going to find out the owner. I stopped at their house and knocked on the door. And 3 days later, we were under contract to sell that house. And so that is, I know you preach about it. There are deals all over the place if you are looking, and there's people that own houses that don't want to own the houses. You just have to be the person to help them realize that you can buy it from them. They can get rid of it with you.
Yeah. And and what you did there, and you did not, there was no secret word or sentence or wordsmith, like it wasn't, you know, used car salesman. You didn't convince them to sell. It was already in their mind. They just needed an opportunity, someone to be there, someone to actually say, you can do this.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this and you come to our events and you listen to other podcasts or in these Facebook groups, for us in this real estate investing kind of ecosphere, we think everybody knows about us. We think the whole world knows about selling, property off market. It's not true. Most people out there, they don't actually know how to sell a property. And if they do think they know, the only thing they know about is my friend or my cousin or somebody at church is an agent. I'll call them and they'll sell it for me. And they've never done it, so they don't know any different. And sometimes it just takes you telling them there's an option.
Yeah.
Just like what you did. So I love that. That's so powerful. And again, it talks back to looking in and around your own community today, like where you are, where you go from home to work. There's a deal probably on the way. So we actually just offline, we talked about a great deal that's literally half a mile down from my office. So I'm so excited about you. We're not going to talk about that today. That's a 6-month follow-up podcast. But let's talk about how you're getting deals now and what does your business look like today?
So I think what I want to mention, so we talked about those first 2 houses. Well, I still had the W-2 job for years while doing real estate. And I think that's something I want to mention to the listeners. I think a lot of people say, well, if I can get one house, I can quit my job. I commend somebody for having that optimistic viewpoint of saying, I can leave my job. But I waited until we had 15 rental properties. And fortunately, I had a very good paying job. But I was able to, when I made the decision to leave to focus on real estate full time, my passive income from those rental properties was already as much as my W-2 income. And so it was a little bit of a challenge, because when you're used to having that passive income and the paycheck income, and you go down to just the passive income, you worry. But that's what propelled me to be able to make that decision. And so I wanted to mention, you might not have to wait until you get to 15. You might be able to do it with 3, or you might try going in head first with only 1. Be cautious, make sure that you have a plan in place. But
Yeah.
that,
So let me ask you this: when you got the first property, that's 2020,
yeah,
um, and you figured out the BRRRR, how long did it take you to actually get to 15?
about 2.5 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like 2.5 years, and probably would have had more, but I only did good deals. I wasn't out there trying, and I still had the full-time job, and so to me that was a substantial amount in that period of time, and again, the BRRRR method is what helped propel that and keep that
Yeah.
going to acquire so fast. So if I had been able to find more deals that fit my buy box, and my buy box was, I focused on a certain area, certain size, and I did this. If I had opened up my buy box a little bit more, it could have been more. But I was happy with what my buy box was.
Absolutely. It's so what I'm getting at is, you set that goal and you set that buy box, and what does it look like? And if you do want to quit your day job, you guys, it's not, well, I'm going to get one and I'm out. You set a plan, and the plan has to tie into that income. You have to provide for your family.
That's right.
And if you get that in one deal, great. Typically, it's going to be a little harder to do that. So just for instance, when Michelle and I, we decided that was going to be our path. It took us about 2.5 years, from 2016 to 2018. And we were at 35 rentals, but these were all, so we were still in the middle of, we were buying them with the value add. So it was a 10-unit mobile home community, right? And back then when we first got it, it was only renting total for like $2,600 a month. Now we have it at $7,200 a month, so we didn't have full cash flow from each property, but at what we owned, we had enough for me to walk away. And then Michelle also quit because we started wholesaling. So we went and said, you know what, this wholesaling thing's pretty cool too. Let's make that a business. And that was, 6 years ago. But I just wanted to make sure we talk through that, because there are people listening to this that's their goal. It's not everybody's goal,
Yeah.
but if it is, be strategic about it, make a plan, and yeah, absolutely, I love it,
Right.
and it's possible. You can do it.
It is. And, or, you know what? The other angle, Andrew, is continue your W-2 job and just build up that passive income, because I think you and I would both try to convince anybody and everybody that passive real estate investing and the wealth that you can build for yourself and your family through real estate investing is incredible. And it doesn't have to be a full-time job for you. It can be passive, and you can get one rental a month and it will build towards your future.
Yeah, and I can honestly tell you right now, if the hotel company that I was working for, had they not sold the property I was at, I wouldn't have quit. That was the reason I quit, because we would have just kept the rental properties, the cash flowing rentals. The plan was Michelle was going to go down to part time, and so she could pick the kids up after school. We didn't plan on going full time in real estate. They decided to sell that hotel, and they kind of made that decision for me, because I didn't want to go work for this sort of larger corporate, just not the family owned, not the local company that I loved. And I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to start over, because we had 30 rental properties. I was like, I don't need to start over.
Right. That's right.
But
It gave you options
it gave us options,
that
and we made that decision because we had options. I think, I mean, if they hadn't sold, we probably would have been there a few more years, if not still there, with maybe 35, maybe 65. I don't know how many rentals, but that would have been going in the background,
yeah.
right? Getting ready for that day of I'm out, So
It would have got, Andrew, we both know it would have gotten harder and harder to show up to work.
it would have got harder and harder.
Yeah.
I'm sure it probably wouldn't still be there, especially after COVID. I would have been out
Yeah.
of hotels
Yeah.
after that. But
But he gave you options, and you and it's the exact same thing as you and I. So,
yeah, that's
yeah.
awesome. Well, let's talk about where you are, because what started this podcast was you did a deal. You did a self-storage unit deal, and I saw your post on Facebook, and I was like, we've got to talk, because you and I've talked over these last few years, but we've never gone deep into what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be great for podcast listeners to just see, how you can progress from just getting started, right? You get that bug, you get a deal, and you see where it takes you. So where's it taking you? Where are
Yeah.
you?
So when I decided to leave the W-2 job, I had already partnered with a gentleman on a restaurant. So we had purchased a restaurant. And so at the time, we both said, okay, when you're ready to leave your W-2 job, we will form a company and we will focus on real estate. Kind of like the same thing, BRRRR method, a few flips here and there. I do mention I'm not, and I don't love the flipping because I like investing in real estate, but you make money with flips. And so if you're trying to build up cash, those are good things to do too. So we just kind of said, we're going to do this and focus on building real estate. Well, that brought us opportunities with more than just residential. So fast forward to today, we have, since leaving the W-2 job and forming the company, we now own 1,000 self-storage units, retail, commercial. We bought boat storage here in Chapin, moved our office, bought a building off of Dutch Fork Road, moved our offices there. So we have done commercial real estate. And I'll tell you, there's differences, obviously. The BRRRR method doesn't work quite the same. Although the great thing about real estate is you can do a BRRRR method on a $20 million hotel. That you can do the BRRRR method on a piece of land, so there's a lot. And so that has opened up my eyes to now where we're doing commercial. And to the last thing you mentioned, this is our latest project that we did here in Columbia. We took a building, 55,000 square foot building over in 29223 on the corner of Berkshire. And we converted this, we gutted it out and we made climate control self-storage. And now we have interior units, and then we also added exterior units out in the parking lot. And it's just, I love the storage business. It's real estate. It's just a different segment of real estate, but it's real estate as well.
I love that. And so the BRRRR method, guys, it's funny because it really it was pioneered by the commercial real estate businesses, the hotel owners and self-storage owners and high-rise buildings downtown. This is what they've always done is generally it's longer. Like our BRRRR of a single family, you can get done in 6 months, 8 months, something like that. Your high-rise commercial building, it takes longer to get it fully rented and then capitalize that money again. And so where it started was they wanted to pay it back their investors, and so they could do it again. And so usually it takes, something like 5 years or 3 to 5 years, but it's the same process. And it's the same general idea of taking raw land or a underutilized building, improving it, getting income into it so that the value is now higher, and going to the bank and refinancing that so that you can use the equity you've built to do something else.
That's exactly right. And that's so I learned one great thing, Andrew, and I think I can speak, you're probably very similar. I still am learning every single day. I am learning about real estate, what drives real estate, what I learn every single day. One thing I wanted to mention because it's been somewhat new to me since diving headfirst into full-time real estate, is syndicating deals. And
Yeah.
I'll use this self-storage, and we don't have to talk about syndications today, but I'll use that as an example. You don't also have to have the $3.5 million sitting there. You can have a deal. You can have a 55,000 square foot building that you want to rent or convert or into self-storage, and you can raise money from investors. There's money out there
Mhm.
with people that want to invest. And so the last year and a half for me has been really learning syndication and how to put deals together and how to make money, not just for myself, but for investors. So just wanted to mention that there. If everybody's waiting to sit on $3.5 million to go convert a empty shell into self-storage, we're going to wait a long time.
Right.
But if you have the right team and you can put together the deal, find it, and sell it to investors, the results are endless. And that's kind of where my company and my partner and I have gotten. So
Yeah, absolutely. And guys, you don't have to syndicate a $3.5 million deal. If you're getting started and you've got a really good single family deal, it's not going to be syndication where you send it to everybody else, but friends, family, partners.
yeah,
You guys are partners, right? You come together to get the deal done. And if you have truly a deal, a discount property, there will be somebody that want to do it with you. it's that's how it works. That's how these things are put together. And I was very grateful for my past, hospitality career in the hotel business and being so close to the owners and the developers of those hotels, because that's how I learned exactly what you're talking about. Y'all, but they don't teach us this stuff in school. And so as I'm out there managing, opening up a hotel, I'm seeing these owners come in. I'm like, wait a second, who are these people? They have a day job. He's a doctor. How is he the owner of this hotel? And start asking questions and start looking around and come to find out that's basically how they're all built. Is it's a group of people that will raise the funds because they got a good deal. They got a good idea, a good project. They are going to create equity on this piece of dirt, usually, and they're going to pay a good return. So that's just how real estate is done. And um, I love talking about this with you because it kind of it shows people the possibilities. It's like, oh wow, eyes wide open.
yeah.
Uh, but it's not my intention to say go do that, guys. Our intention, and we go back to the beginning, is get started. Do one deal. Take that bug you got inside of you. If you're listening to this, you've probably got that entrepreneur bug. God has put something in you that you're meant for more. And if this is the path, get started. Get going down there. So, Adam, what would you say? And we're kind of start winding up. What would you say to somebody that's listening to this and they're like they are just feeling it. They want to do that deal. They want to get self storage or hunt 15 properties, but they haven't done anything yet. What's your advice for them?
Well, I think that that's the place where most people sit, because life keeps us busy, and so it's hard. You have the desires to do this. You have the want to provide for yourself and your family, maybe, or grow, but you get stuck in that decision-making period, the analysis, and there is the famous saying, paralysis by analysis, and it's a real problem. So to answer what I would say, um, that by learning, by listening, and asking questions to people, going to meetups, in really saying to somebody, hey, can I steal you for 5 minutes and just ask how you got your first one? Where did you find it? How did you get the money? Ask those questions. And then if you feel like you're ready, JV with somebody, joint or I'll joint venture with somebody. So we were talking about syndication. Maybe you look at somebody and you say, hey, you've done a couple of these. Would you joint venture with me on this? You may not get the full upside, but you can work through it together. I think my biggest thing would be to just try to ask the questions. Don't wait too long. If you feel like you got a really good deal, pick up shoot Andrew a message on Facebook, shoot me a message on Facebook and say, hey, would you help me? Even just tell me if this looks like a good deal. If you don't ask, you won't ever get the information that you're necessarily looking for. So ask the questions. Be, people like Andrew, you and I, we will help people. We don't do this just to just help us. We like to see people get ahead in the real estate business. Ask those questions, do it, get prepared, and then do it, and you'll look back and say, this was the greatest decision. From there, it just gets hopefully easier and easier to make those next steps.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. Taking that first step is the hardest.
Yeah.
And then the next, you become a little easier. You get a little bit more confident. That's the biggest thing. What we do is we partner with people here locally to do flips with them because of that. It's getting from that analysis paralysis situation. And sometimes there's too much risk, right? So we kind of partner with people to eliminate some of that risk. But after they've done 2 or 3 with us, the decisions are so much easier. They can make them faster.
Yeah.
It's one of the greatest things that we do, and I love seeing that in our partners. That's what brings me joy is going through that part. So I love your comments there. And guys, we have local meetups, and if you're listening to this, wherever you are, there is a meetup. I guarantee it. There's definitely some online as well. Anywhere in South Carolina, you can make it to Columbia. Come to ours. We do stuff literally every week. So get connected wherever you are. Learn the business. You don't have to know everything. We are still learning. Adam said that. I say it every day. I'm still learning. We see new things all the time. So just keep learning and start taking some action. I love that. So what if people want to send you a message, is Facebook like a DM? Is that the best way to reach out to you, Adam? What do you think?
So, well, one thing I want to mention, we do have a website for our company, and that's dulisgroup.com, and that's DULIS. So you can look us up on that. You can see some of the projects we have going on. You can see some of our team, and otherwise you can shoot me a message on LinkedIn, on Facebook. Glad to help anybody and everybody I can. If I can't help, I'll tell you, but I'll also would not want to just say, sorry, I can't help you, but I would try to guide you in the right direction. So yeah, reach out to me on social media or on our Facebook or our website.
Yes, love that. Love that. LinkedIn is a good spot too, you guys. We'll put a link to your website in the comments so that people can click on that. But yeah, and again, guys, he's always open for ask questions. I'm open. Y'all shoot us a message. If you have anything, you put a comment in this on this video or this podcast, wherever you're listening, and we'll get to it and see if we can't help you out. But this has been so much fun, Adam. Thank you so much for your time, sharing your experience. And I'm not going to forget. We're going to come back and visit that other deal.
That's right.
And we're going to dive deep into that one in a couple of months.
Excited. So thank you very much, Andrew. And again, it's an honor and pleasure to be here. We could probably talk for hours and hours on end, but I appreciate it and always enjoy the networking and fellowship with you.
Absolutely. Guys, dealfindersclub.com if you need anything or you want to check out our events. Until the next podcast, go out there and find a deal. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the REI Deal Finders podcast. You can find out more and apply to be a part of the REI Deal Finder community at reidealfinders.club.